Andrew Garfield is an Oscar-nominated Hollywood star who has found his home on Broadway. After making a splash opposite Philip Seymour Hoffman in Death of a Salesman in 2012, the former Spider-Man is back on the boards playing Prior Walter in Tony Kushner's epic two-parter, Angel in America, a role that just earned him his second Tony Award nomination. Find out how Fat Sam kicked off his impressive career, why Bruce Springsteen is an unlikely inspiration, and how Miss Vanjie and friends help him wind down on this week's Show People. Andrew, how you doing? Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled you're here. Your performance in Angels in America is like one of my favorites in recent memory.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
So I'm so
really
thrilled to get to talk to you about it because I have so much respect for you, even more than ever.
Oh, wow.
I've always respected you, but like
that's a great way to start this interview. It's going to really warm me up.
Exactly. Everyone is talking about your performance, about the Walter before this one. Mr. Prior Walter. I love that line. Such an iconic role. Such a role that I feel like it's hard to ever forget once you sort of experience it as an audience member.
Yeah.
Can't even imagine what it's like for you to be living with this man, living in this man.
Yeah.
How are you? You've been living with him for a while.
Such a sweet question. I really feel considered. I'm good. I'm really, really grateful. I feel very, very lucky. As you say, he is this unforgettable, multi-dimensional, hopeful symbol of you know what we all can be, and I think audiences respond to him because he makes us all feel possible. He makes us all feel like a life of meaning and a life of fabulousness is possible for each and every one of us. And I think that's the genius of what Tony Kushner has written.
Yeah.
And I just feel very, very privileged that I get to hang out in his skin and organs. And even though he is going through the most traumatic of experiences, it's only through going through that trauma does he become who he is. And I think that there's something timeless about that journey, about facing your demons, facing the Minotaur, you know, whatever it is, it's mythical.
I read somewhere you said that when you were first offered the part, when it first sort of came into your life, you kind of thought, I don't deserve to do this. And how did you get past that, and how did it feel like the right thing?
I don't know if it was as simple as I don't deserve to do this. I think it was when Tony and Marianne Elliott, our incredible director, asked me to do it. My first response was, hell yes, like a big fat capital yes. And then I read it and I thought, how do we do this?
Right.
It's very long and it's very complicated, and I have to have sex with an angel, and it has to feel real. And I have to be convinced that I'm a prophet. And how am I even going to, on a serious note, how am I even going to begin to understand the experience of a death sentence, the experience of the diagnosis that Prior Walter is given before the curtain even raises, and bringing that onto the stage every night. And I still struggle with that. It's that is the struggle of working on this role, is how do you fully inhabit that? How do you fully inhabit knowing that every breath may or may not be your last, and the terror, the mortal dread of dying far too soon, and in such an unjust way, living in such an unjust universe, feeling totally dispensable, and seeing not only that, but then seeing your friends falling away around you. This is an experience that will make you as a human being, and how do I begin to honor that, which so many men went through, specifically gay men went through in the time of the AIDS crisis. So that's my privilege and my burden to attempt to make live every night for a fresh group of souls that come into the theatre.
You're succeeding because the final scene of the play is truly unforgettable, and when you speak to the audience, it honestly, it feels like you are honoring people we've lost, and it really has. Everyone knows how important this is to you, and it's so great to hear you talk about it with such commitment. And you know, Nathan Lane said, like, you can speak about this play better than Tony Kushner can. You know, I mean, that it's so emotional to you. Now, having Tony Kushner around is great. I mean, you know, because obviously this came from him. He experienced this. He lived in New York during this time. He knew Prior Walters, and you know, did you have any questions for him? What did you really want to sort of get from him being on the journey with you?
Yeah, I mean, endless questions. And he thankfully has endless answers, much like his play can sometimes feel endless. He is endless. He's constantly in the conversation of life, of being alive and what we're doing here. So if you want answers, he's the person to go to. But beware, you will get pages and pages and pages of answers, which is, you know, an unbelievable gift for an actor or anyone, because his mind and his soul and his heart, he's one of the most brilliant people I've ever had the privilege of meeting. So for me, you know, I just wanted all the insight he could offer, not only about Pryor and about where he came from in his imagination, and inhabiting that time. Yeah. Understanding what it was like to be alive at that time in that community during this, you know, all of the complications, all of the debates that were going on about whether to close the bathhouses, keep the bathhouses open, you know, all the different responses to this plague, whether it was responses full of shame, whether it was responses full of pride, whether it was responses full of kind of reckless abandon. All of those things felt very, very important for me to know, of course. I needed to understand the impulse of what drag is, which I very quickly understood. It's exactly what I do for a living, so that was very, very quick to access. And the angel itself, like, what is the angel? It's a conundrum in the sense that it's never going to be figured out. This relationship between Pryor and this angel of America, what is that? Is it an angel? Is it a part of his psyche? Is it a psychological break? Yeah. Is it an outward manifestation of Pryor's fear of death? Is it an outward manifestation of his internalized shame of somehow computing that this plague has been sent to the gay community by this very puritanical Christian idea of what God is in modern culture, meaning that, you know, sodomy is against God's law. All of this nonsense that I suppose one can't help but internalize if you are being told it from a very, very young age, even though you know deep down underneath, way deep, that how you were created was absolutely natural, and how you love and choose to express that love sexually is absolutely natural and totally beautiful and meant to be celebrated. But on top of that, the layers that, from what I understand, the LGBT community have had to unfairly and unjustly suffer and fight through and say no to, you know, it could be the angel could be a manifestation of that. Stop moving, stop intermingling, stop loving as you love. So Pryor, of course, has to beat the shit out of this kind of nonsensical, repulsive, repugnant Mormon idea, or, you know, modern Christian idea of what God wants of us. So, or you know, is it real? Is it the other world crashing through? This is what Pryor has to deal with. So I spent a lot of time talking with Tony about that, and I still am. It feels like that's what my job is right now, to try and understand that.
You make me want to go back and see the show. You've just opened my mind even more. I can't wait for your book of essays on Angels in America. I'm sure you could write a great...
I don't know.
And also, Pryor sort of has this sort of fantasy life, you know, what's in his mind, and a very fabulous life, glamorous, right? Sort of his idea of glamour. Did you explore that at all? You know, coming from his sort of vantage point.
Yeah, for sure. That was interesting because it's so not my natural inclination. Yeah. So that was a very exciting thing to allow myself to do. What
kind of things did you immerse in?
Well, to lean into your own fabulousness is something that as English people we don't often allow ourselves to do. So giving myself permission to lean into that performative, externally beautifying, wrapping everything in a beautiful bow, beautiful silk bow, like that has been, you know, I started, you know, buying lots of fashion books and, you know, and also like books of like beautiful books of like old movie stars,
Right.
like icons from the 20s and 30s and 40s
Right.
and 50s and onwards, and even like, you know, watching how models move in a way that I've never really, like female models, how they hold themselves. And I'm much more naturally drawn, as a human being, I think, drawn towards the inner life of things. Whereas I think prior, his access to the world is much more through, at the beginning of of his journey anyway, is much more through the external life of things, which is a beautiful way to access the world, and it's something that I admire greatly in others. So I was able to steal from the people that I find just beautiful and fabulous.
Right, I love it. There's so much in your head in this role, and it's obvious from the audience how much work you've done on it. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Andrew Garfield. And we are back with Andrew Garfield. I want to ask you about Fat Sam's Grand Slam. Let's talk about that.
What?
Fat Sam, you were Fat Sam.
How'd you
Come
know
on,
that?
let's take it back.
How'd you know
We
that?
gotta rewind. We gotta rewind a little bit.
Oh my God.
That's your gangster past.
Oh my God.
Come on, we
How'd
can lighten
you
it
know
up.
that?
How do I know that? Your life is not a secret.
Is it online?
You are a
It's
famous
like,
person. There's information to be found.
Oh my God, I could talk about Bugsy Malone for
Like just as passionately as
hours.
Pryor Walter.
Yeah.
That was a big moment, right?
Huge.
Yeah, it's the gangster musical starring kids.
Yeah.
They love it in England especially. Like,
Yeah.
it gets done a lot
There was a really good production recently with young people at the Lyric Hammersmith, which was really, really cool.
And you were Fat Sam.
Yeah.
And he's a gangster. He's a tough guy.
I was 14, 15 at the time.
You were young.
It was my first time on stage. It was my first time doing a play at the Epsom Playhouse, my local community theatre.
Were you terrified?
No, I was home. It was coming home because it was a movie that I had seen on loop since I was probably 9 or 10. Like fantastic Alan Parker movie, like a genius movie, like a brilliant and a great director, obviously. So no, all those songs I know by heart, and it's so funny. My dad, who's probably #1 fan in the world of me, always whenever he sees he came to the premiere of this Martin Scorsese film I did recently called Silence, and he was like, well, it was no Fat Sam, but it was. And after he had seen Angels with my mum in London a couple of times. They come to two show days in London, and then they came back to opening here in New York. And he came backstage. And my mum was just a swamp. She was just like crying her eyes out, and she was just like, "It's better than ever. I don't know what you do." I'm like, "You're my mother," and I like that. And then my dad was behind, he was crying too, but he had his phone in his hand, and he as he came up to me, he played everybody who needs everybody to soon walk through that door. Fat Sam's Grand Slam. And he was like, it was no Fat Sam, but it was. I was like, oh.
That's amazing.
So that's been the benchmark.
Okay,
Since I
benchmark.
was
You started really
child.
high with Bugsy Malone. Okay.
Oh my God.
I'm really into it.
Yeah, and what I loved about it is that in the film, all of the actors, they were like children, and their voices were very, they were their own voices, and they were just talking, and like they were talking up here, and then as soon as like Fizzy's like this 7-year-old boy, is just this adorable little kid, and then he starts singing, and it's this like deep baritone, like jazz kind of like, and it's like, how did you get away with that? But they did. It was just genius. I want to go and watch that tonight. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy I could. Your dad actually, he comes up a lot. You're really close to your dad.
I am.
And it's really sweet when to hear you talk about your dad. You guys seem super close. And he used to like make movies of you and your brother? What was that? He sounds like a pretty creative guy.
He is. He's a cinephile. He's obsessed with movies. And so he had this old VHS, like over the shoulder.
Old school.
Yeah. Camera when we were young. And me and my brother, and I hadn't really no interest. I was a clown when I was a kid, and I think I had no craft. I was just a pure kind of clown, and so he would try and wrangle me into making these home movies with him. And my brother was much more serious about it. Actually, my brother was really the kind of the performer, the really kind of like serious.
Your brother, who's now a doctor,
he's a doctor,
and you're the Broadway star. You're the actor.
Arguably, I owe him a lot. I owe my father a lot because he sacrificed a lot in order to provide for his family. That classic thing. And I think he was very scared when I first realized that I was drawn to something that wasn't very safe as a profession, being acting, being theatre making or filmmaking or anything like that. And he was very resistant at first. He'll admit to that.
Right.
So it took a lot for him to allow me to go to drama school, to go to acting school, and to help support me through that. And he was very, very scared all the way through. And it wasn't until my first kind of paycheck where he realized, and then suddenly all of his longing came out. He remembered that actually his first dream was to be a screenwriter.
Oh, wow.
That was his first dream that he deferred in order to, we are the unmet dreams of our parents, as the saying goes. So, he came to the Oscars with me last year. He was sat right next to me at the Oscars, and we were just we were just giggling to each other, just kind of, and he was like, the only person I want to meet is Jeff Bridges. I'm like, Dad, no, that's not the way this works. You are a guest, and you will behave, and we're just happy to be there. And then we sat on the front row. Jeff Bridges sits down right next to him with his wife.
Wow,
and
that's amazing.
Okay, you manifested that. So, yeah, I love him. I love him dearly. So, and it's amazing to be able to take him on this journey with me. It feels like a very soulful thing.
You were fantastic as Biff. You get great character names. Pryor, Biff.
I know, right?
Biff in Death of a Salesman. That amazing revival of Philip Seymour Hoffman, Linda Emond. And you said opening night that you sort of locked eyes with your dad from the stage.
Yeah.
And just sort of lost your mind.
It's such a Broadway story.
I know, I love it. That's why I'm telling you. It's a Broadway show.
It's like I'm so glad that I have a Broadway story where suddenly everything comes full circle. Yeah, so me and my father, our relationship has been hard won. I think that's the setup for fathers and sons. If you want to have a true relationship with your dad, you have to separate and then come back together. That's my understanding anyway of how it works. That's how it's worked for me. I had to really let him go and hurt him because there was a lot of things that we had to figure out and we had to fight about. Young people,
right.
Say "F you, Dad," so easily. It's like, well, all of my problems are your fault. So by doing that, and he was, I don't know, man enough. I don't know if man enough. Yeah, vulnerable enough and man enough, including vulnerability, to hang out with me in the mess. To hang out with me in trying to figure out our stuff, my stuff that happened to be his stuff, and was our stuff.
Wow.
So it took about 7 or 8 years of either not being able to be in the same room as each other, or screaming at each other when we were in the same room, which culminated, of course, in one of the key moments of our renegotiation and refinding each other was opening night of Death of a Salesman with the great Mike Nichols directing and Phil Hoffman playing Willie. And I remember. Of course, your dad's in the audience, so everything takes on it all becomes a little bit more profound, a little bit more meaningful. And as soon as the play was done and the lights came up, the first silhouette I saw stood up was my father's head with his ears, because he's quite pronounced ears, and it was just me and him and everyone. It was it was theater as healing, as like a healing ritual, and. I can't believe that we got to have that together, and it really did change our lives that moment. And at the interval, he said to a friend of mine, "He's talking to me. I know he's talking to me." And what a man! What a man! Yeah, I'm really I'm forever impressed by my father. I'm really
Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back with more Andrew Garfield. Welcome back. We're sitting with Andrew Garfield, who's fantastic in Angels in America. You were like a swimmer and a gymnast, and then you it sounds like your brother was an overachiever. Mm-hmm. I love the look in I had an older brother, overachieving over older brother. I got it all in your face when I just said that. So you kind of ran to theater as a classic escape?
No, I don't know actually. No, it didn't feel like that. It felt like I actually let everything go first off. I ran to lots of different places thinking, just like lost. I loved sport and I still love sport and I miss sport. I love being in my body and I love being a part of a team. So of course that links up to doing plays, but I like serving something greater than myself. Have you read Andrew Agassi's book, Open?
I haven't, yeah.
It's a really good book. And I'm not usually like a sports reader guy, but like it's an amazing autobiography. And there's a moment in it where, because he hated tennis famously, playing tennis.
Right.
He was playing tennis for the Olympic team, the US Olympic team, and they won gold. The team won gold. He describes the moment on the podium. He was like, this is the first time in the history of playing tennis where I've suddenly thought, maybe I like tennis. The joy that he felt sharing it with others, because otherwise he's just on the tour on his own and it's all like this self-serving, ego-driven, him against himself thing. So I really related to that actually. There was something, and like Angels in America is the perfect ensemble for that. It's a true ensemble, and without any one of us, the ship sinks. So I love that about it. So anyway, so I let it all go because I knew that there was something else. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that there was something else. It wasn't easy because I got very depressed and it was a period of, a natural period of that walking through the wilderness stuff where I didn't know what it was, but there was something calling to me. So I think I had to clear everything out in order to hear, in order to really listen. And I did. I really cleared everything out. I was kind of at ground zero within myself, and I tried painting. No, that didn't work. I tried sculpting. No, that didn't work. I tried writing. No, that didn't work. And then Bugsy Malone.
Bugsy Malone.
And Fat Sam saved me, literally. And it was like, oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. And then from then on, it became clearer and clearer and clearer.
Yeah. Do you get that same thrill from film and from your Hollywood career? Obviously, you were Spider-Man. You've done huge Hollywood blockbuster kind of things, and you've done a lot of really interesting, more introspective kind of movies. I mean, you've sort of been able to do a lot of things. But you really started as a theater actor. You had a long career in London, even as a theater actor, sort of before you got discovered. You were doing a lot.
Yeah.
So what is the difference for you?
I've had those beautiful moments with film. I really, really have. But the difference is home. I think home is the theater for me, and I hope it always will. I believe it always will be, as long as it will keep having me. I'm lucky that I get to make films that are interesting and that are hard to get made. Spider-Man really helped that. Right. It meant that I can go and help Martin Scorsese make his passion project. I don't think if I'd played Spider-Man that I would have been able to get that film off the ground with him. And I do feel like movies can change. I've been changed by movies. I've been more changed by plays. I remember when I saw my first play, it was Teatro de Complicité, Simon McBurney's company in England, in Europe, and it was a play called Mnemonic. It's very very wild, devised piece, and Phil Tong took me to it and blew my head open. I thought, oh, that's possible. I want to do whatever they're doing. It's sorcery. I see it as sorcery and magic, and I saw Bruce Springsteen doing it recently on stage. Right. He was performing, and it was storytelling and singing, and it was he chemically changed everyone in the room. Wow. He healed everyone in the room somehow, somewhat. When I watch Mark Rylance perform, I get healed, I get changed, I get inspired. When I saw Bruce Springsteen the other night, I had a 2-show day the next day, and I felt full. I felt like I felt like I knew exactly what I was doing, which is a rarity. And it was because he had shown me who I was just by being himself and by making all of his life, all of the nuances of his life universally relatable and truly inspiring. So that's what I want to try to do.
You found inspiration in Bruce Springsteen. I love that. Yeah. Stephen Spinella, who originated the role of Prior Walter on Broadway, he's very famously, I think he said, after Angels in America, I want to do like a 90-minute comedy. Can you relate to this sentiment? I mean, it's a lot.
Or retire.
And you had obviously downtime in between London and
here.
Did, yeah. What do you do at the end of the night? How do you recuperate at the end of the night?
You don't want to know.
You don't? I don't want to know?
You don't want to know the
No, I think I do want to know.
Oh, God. Well, it's, first of all, I've seen little clips of Stephen doing Prior. Yeah. After the run's done, I'm going to take myself to Lincoln Center and I'm going to lock myself away for 8 hours and watch that production. and on you know, a crappy little TV monitor, and just kind of
at the library
indulge, because I'm so dying to watch that production. So I'm very excited for that.
That's the first thing you'll do when you're done. You're gonna go sit and watch it,
watch Angels America,
the '90s version as an audience member.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
So
I saw it.
Yeah,
and your production is fantastic in different ways. You know, when Nathan Lane was here, I told him I was wary of seeing it again because I had such an amazing experience with the first one.
Yep.
And some things I like to just sort of keep precious in my theater going, and I was just so moved by what you're doing up there.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
So the recuperation is real though.
It is.
So you're gonna go to the library, you're gonna go.
I don't know. I'm gonna have a holiday, definitely. I think. I hope. I pray. The endless question that you get asked. So what are you gonna do after this? What are you gonna do? What's happening after this? I'm like, I really don't know who I am after this. Like as you say, it's the kind of thing that changes you. It's the kind of thing that, I don't know, transforms you as a performer and as an audience member. And I don't know who I am yet. You know, I'm really excited to find out. All of my friends are saying rom-com, something really undemanding, and I agree with them right now. But to come down from the show is really, really tricky. I don't sleep until about 4 a.m. because of it. Wow. Because it's, you know, it's you get so filled with life and so filled with, you know, it's a full meal. So I watch a lot of television. That I started watching a TV show called Riverdale.
Oh, Riverdale, yes. Yeah, I love Riverdale.
It's really fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's really fun. I really like it. I'm not ashamed. I really, really like it. Oh, I watched the whole series of Game of Thrones recently.
Oh.
From February till now.
Wow.
I finished. I watched all of it in one sitting.
Game of Thrones and then Riverdale.
And Sundays I get together with some of my closest friends in the city, and we watch We watch RuPaul.
Drag Race.
Yeah. We watch the most recent
episode,
and I think this season is.
Yeah, who are you rooting for? It's a good season.
I don't know. You know what? I mean, I don't want to say anything because I'm gonna, ostracize a whole load of your audience, no matter what I say. But I think I was so disappointed to see Miss Vanjie go, as everyone was, and that exit is like one of the iconic moments, I believe, of Drag Race history. That three times Miss Vanjie. What the hell was that? And it's like, it's the kind of thing that you go,
Vanjie.
What were you? Did you know you were gonna do that? Did you run out of things to say? What were you taken over by a divine entity? And like I felt it's hypnotized the culture.
It was a moment. It was like
There was some. She was channeling. There was
prophet.
something. Yeah, it was like. I feel like Bruce Springsteen and Miss Vanjie. I feel changed by so far this year. Maybe Miss Vanjie slightly more profoundly, if I'm honest.
I can't think of a better way to end this interview.
Miss Vanjie.
Andrew, thank you so much for coming by. Thank you for coming to Broadway again. I hope I have a feeling we'll see more of you on Broadway. I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see how it's changed you.
Oh yeah, me too. I'll let you know. It's a privilege. No, thank you for a wonderful interview. You've been great, really.
Thank you so much. Everyone, go see Angels in America. Do the marathon. I love the marathon. It's really fun.
Good advice.
Or see it in 2 nights if you have to. But it's at the Neil Simon Theater, and it is fantastic. You won't ever forget it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.